Hi, I'm Leonida Radford. I'm a Filipino and Black woman, and I'm a third year student at the University of Washington. This is my elevated story. The moment that inspired me to become a physician was unfortunately right after my sophomore year of undergrad. My father passed away of a heart attack. And for some context, my dad grew up in the south side of Chicago in a predominantly Black community where he was really told to not trust authority figures, not to trust doctors. And he also grew up with type 2 diabetes that remained pretty poorly uncontrolled up like since I've known him. My mom, on the other hand, grew up in the Philippines. And when she immigrated here to the United States, she took everything that the doctor said and followed every single thing to the T. And I think seeing their two different um, experiences within medicine and how they responded to doctors was definitely created some tension within my parents, but it wasn't until my dad passed away that I really understood what the consequences of that was and how I was in a rather unique position to understand these two very different um, experiences within medicine, within marginalized communities as a whole. So yes, so unfortunately, through the death of my father, that's where I kind of realized that I wanted to be a doctor and that I wanted to take that extra jump to commit myself into medicine. The cost of medical school 100% had an effect on that decision to apply. Even the cost of applying to medical school was something that I heavily thought about. And I actually ended up um, having a GoFundMe page that one of my friends helped me create to fund all of my application for medical school. Um, and I was just looking at my current debt right now, and I'm extremely fortunate that I don't have any debt from undergrad. But as of right now, I'm $150,000 in debt, and I think that's wild. The fact that I'm entering my third year of school and I have so much money just kind of like attached to it, and I'm just kind of taking out loans left and right because we're encouraged to not work. A word that I would use to describe medical school and my journey right now is tough. It's definitely been tough. It's definitely been challenging, both in good, like positive and negative ways, right? Like I think it's been positive because I'm able to stretch myself in ways that I never thought possible. I'm able to see myself in a white coat and have my patients feel reflected in their care team. And kind of dawning on this new persona and this new facet of my identity. But in doing that, I feel like sometimes I still struggle to maintain my relationship with my partner or like call my mom, or even kind of how do I reconcile being a first generation student who came from a low income background and knowing that I'm going to be entering this very privileged and very prestigious profession. So I think it's this constant back and forth of myself, like how do I rectify the fact that I am Leonida, I grew up in San Francisco, but or and I will become a physician. So it's definitely been tough kind of having that internal monologue within myself and with my community. And then also, of course, the academics of it are also just challenging and tough to kind of acclimate to and get used to. So yeah, growing up, I did not have a physician that looked like me. And I think it was really difficult to have that connection with her. Like I know in medical school that we are very much taught to like build rapport with our patients and make them feel comfortable. But at the same time, it's kind of difficult to be on the receiving end of that and feel like your culture, your background, who you are, the essence of who you are as a person isn't really understood, right? Like you can't read a book and understand what it's like to be me. And I feel like when you have a provider who comes from your community, who comes from your background, they just get it. And I feel that when you have that connection, it's so much easier to be honest. It's so much easier to ask questions, because you feel like you're not being judged. It just feels like you're talking to a friend. And I think that having that representation within medicine, within a person's care team is so important because the patient is part of the care team, but they also need to feel comfortable. They need to feel empowered and uplifted to be part of their care team as well. And I feel like it's just easier to do that with providers from a diverse background. to the donors and everybody that gives to this program, thank you so much. I don't think you realize the impact that your gift has had to at least my life and my education and my journey. So I appreciate you and yeah, thank you so much.